Hello and welcome to another random YouTube video request reaction stream where we watch, videos that I don't get to watch on my Sunday stream, where it's mostly like songs and VTuber clips. So today we can watch videos about history, science, technology, memes, gaming, geography, like anything you can think of. You can share a video, it can be up to 30 minutes max. You can share as many videos as you want. Better to it on my Discord. You have a tab called the random reaction stream tab right here, and you can share videos. The difference though is that on the stream I choose what I want to watch, so sometimes I skip videos if I don't really feel like watching it, or if it doesn't seem that interesting to me. But since you can share many videos, I think it's alright, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, we're doing another one. It's been a week or two since the last one, I forget already. But yeah, should be fun. As always, I already did skip a few videos that people shared. This one is like over 30 minutes. This one we watched before. So I skipped this one, I skipped this one. I opened this one, I opened this one. So I've only opened 2 videos actually so far. But, maybe more people will join and share videos. As always, the problem with this new channel is that I lost 19,000 subs. Which means, a lot less people coming into the stream to share videos. Kind of, I guess. But yeah, as always, link to my Discord in the description, the link to my stream amount if you want to follow me, support me, link to my Patreon where you can also share videos and, support me. And yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I'm not feeling very woken up today. Just haven't had the best week of sleep, I would say, and it's starting to catch up quite a bit. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm not great at long intros, so let's get into a video right away. This one seems pretty interesting. So this is Life as the Last Fire Lookout by Aiden Robbins. Fire Lookout, I'm surprised. I mean, this is maybe like clickbait, right, in the sense of this is like the last in a region or something, but I think there's still a good amount in the US now. I had watched some other video once about it. I think it was in relation with the game Firewatch, which is a pretty classic game by now. It's a narrative game about someone who moves to a fire lookout tower, and is basically in contact with someone from another tower in like over a range of mountain, I guess. And it's mostly about the guy doing his job while also talking to this person over the radio. Yeah, it's a really good game if you've never played it, Firewatch. So let's see if I'm wrong and they're actually discontinuing it. Maybe like you don't actually need a person to do this anymore, like you can just use technology. I don't know, let's find out.
This is a fire lookout, hidden deep in Washington's Cascades, miles from civilization, and overlooking an active volcano.
Wow.
I want to tell you a story about how we got here, but more importantly about how this tower got here, and the man who's living inside fighting to keep it here. But this story doesn't start in the Cascades. It starts in my own backyard, North Carolina. The mountains are smaller here, and none of them are volcanoes, but they're still more than beautiful enough to get me outside. As I spent more time outside, I kept ending up at these lookouts.
Wow.
They've become kind of an obsession of mine. These beautiful structures hidden on mountaintops offering unmatched views of their surroundings. I want to visit as many of these towers as I can, but I also want to find out who built them, when, why, and why did they abandon them?
Good questions, I would say. That's a shot.
Those questions eventually brought me here, to the Northwest, the beautifully imposing landscape where all of this started, over a century ago.
Nature sure is beautiful, huh? Look at this.
Anyone who handles fire in any form is a potential killer. Anyone can start a fire and never even know it. Please be very careful with fire. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Alright, it's summer of 1910 in the Northern Rockies. People are flocking here, cutting trees and building railroads that spew cinders into the forests. The snow's melted early, and summer hasn't brought a drop of rain, but lightning storms have lit thousands of small fires. And on August 19th, a massive current of wind blows through these mountains, combining them into a single, massive wall of flame. Hundreds of feet high, over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, carried by hurricane-force winds at inescapable speed. This fire consumed 3 million acres of land and killed 86 people, more than horrific enough to put it at center stage in outdoor policy. The Forest Service was founded just 5 years prior and was not popular. Congress was squeezing budgets and salaries. Rangers were barely paid, had to buy their own gear, and were threatened and attacked out west. But this fire was an opportunity to prove themselves, to show the country that protecting forests was worth it, by preventing this from ever happening again. Their strategy at the time was to eradicate fire from the landscape, putting out any fire as quickly as possible. And they decided to lean into that, with firefighting crews, television PSAs, a Smokey Bear, and a massive network of fire lookouts. They constructed thousands of lookouts across the US, and in the 1930s the Civilian Conservation Corps got involved, constructing many of the lookouts still standing today. A forest ranger or firefighter would live in the tower for months at a time, checking throughout the day for smoke, reporting it, and sometimes even helping to extinguish it. They would literally see a fire, let someone know, and then start bushwhacking through the forest to put it out. Pretty wild.
How do you put out a fire solo, though, is my question. Like, what equipment did they have as a fire lookout? It's not like they have a truck, filled with water in the nose or something. How would you even put it out as a single person? Is my question.
But in the 1940s, something changed. The number of active lookouts peaked, and then started to decline. Partially because new technologies could spot and track fires more easily and more accurately, but mostly because the Forest Service realized that trying to eradicate wildfires was a terrible idea in the first place. By preventing forests from burning at all, they had allowed them to fill with dry wood and brush, leaving extra fuel for future fires and combining with a warming climate to cause devastating wildfires in the future.
I guess it's this thing about we need to let nature do what it does, like forest fire are not a man-made invention. They happen on their own for, a long time. So we need to control those who become dangerous for people, but I guess, let happen the one that are just, nature doing nature stuff, yeah. I think these days we've kind of realized that many ways, right? I was watching some videos once about natural park in the US. One of them, they had eradicated wolf, for example, because, wolf bad and kill people and stuff like that. But then it led to a ton of problems as other species basically didn't have a predator anymore, and they became massive and they caused a ton of problem. And so, the lesson was learned of, any tiny change in nature that we humans do might have crazy ramifications that we don't expect, right? And eventually they reintroduced wolf to try to rebalance things out and fix the situation. So this sounds kind of similar to that. It's really interesting, the pure balance of nature where, sometimes you don't think of it, but this little thing has a big effect on all this and everything.
So, since the 1940s, these lookouts have been decommissioned, cleaned out one by one until today, they're all gone. At least that's what I thought.
I'm sure they're not all gone, right? I understand that, the majority of them, maybe they, the one especially in the wild, it's whatever, but ones that are still not far away from cities would make sense, no? Or I guess now we have so much we have satellite monitoring and stuff like that, so you don't actually need a person to do that. I don't know. Cascade Range, Washington. Kind of a small side story, but when I was younger and I was first looking for a job, and I was kind of going for anything because I had no qualification. There was a posting. I used to live in the countryside of France, in the south, a very foresty kind of place, and it was a posting for like some kind of like apprentice forest ranger or something, and I did go to like a job interview for it. It was one of my earliest job interviews, so I was like extremely nervous and extremely bad at it. In the first place, I'm like not good with people, so like sitting in front of a bunch of people, as the interview you, it didn't go too great and I didn't get the job, but I really thought I would. Well, I really thought I would. Because it was some of my first job interview, I was like, for a week or two, I was like really like anticipating what if I'm chosen, I need to be ready for this. I started like trying to learn about like the job a little bit by Googling it, and then obviously I got rejected. Though eventually I did work as like in a place where we cut trees and foliage and vegetation in rivers. Trees specifically that would get like if there was a flood, they would get swept up, and then they would do damage to the bridge. So we didn't cut everything but specific trees. So I kind of worked in forest in some way.
Campsite number, we don't know.
We are on our way to meet a pretty interesting person who might have something to tell us about fire lookouts. But to get there, we have to trudge through about 22 miles of mountains and forests. And ironically, speak of the devil, our previous route to get there was only 13 miles, but it burned in a forest fire earlier this year, and it's closed. So we're taking this long, but still very scenic route instead, about 14 miles in, 7 or so left to go this morning, but can't complain with views like these.
Insane.
So let's get back to it.
What a view. It's really something. Like I've seen forest, but nothing this otherworldly, Here it is.
First year I came up here, I went out after about a week because there were some tools and things I wanted, and I came back with a really, really heavy pack, and I thought, I don't want to do that again, so I'm going to plan really well and make sure that I've got a balanced diet of candy bars and top ramen, I'm being a little facetious, but really that's kind of what it turns into.
This is Russ Dalton. He's a retired forest ranger and one of the last active fire lookouts in the world. What did the career trajectory look like to get here? What context and situation led to becoming one of the only fire lookouts in the world?
Okay, how did I end up here? I had a unique skill set, I guess. And I did a lot of years with the National Park Service sampling all the kind of seasonal jobs. Fire crews, I was an interpreter, doing guided walks and evening programs in the campgrounds, working visitor desks, worked with youth programs a lot doing trail work. I did a lot of bridge work too. Had a 10-month job a year working on a trail crew. And then that brought me over here to the Cascades where I worked trail crews, and then got into carpentry with North Cascades National Park. It wasn't until I moved over to the Cascade Range when I was in my 40s and had a chance to work on some fire lookouts. One was the Park View lookout. Worked on the Hidden Lake Peak lookout. Carried up lumber to put in another shutter. And then later I visited the Copper Lookout and the Sourdough and the Desolation and had a better understanding of how they were put together. And so felt pretty comfortable taking on this place here. I check in twice a day so that they know I'm alive and well. Having checked in and tidied up the place and myself for the day, then I'll take on whatever projects that I've lined out for myself. Worked on the tower, mending it where it was cracked and putting plates on it. Dealt with all the shutters. In the case of the inside of the lookout, It hadn't been painted in about 50 years, I think. I took that on, and I repaired the furniture and painted it. I had a roof to put on this year, so that took more of my attention. In the course of the day, I would see 10, 20, 30 people come to visit the place. So I would take off my painter's hat and put on my interpreter's hat. And
I guess there's a lot of people trekking and exploring forests, so you're not that isolated. You are isolated, but yeah, I guess it's not bored. I was gonna say, you know, obviously I'm not the kind of person for this, right? You know, not only do I have none of the skills for any of this, I could not repair anything, you know. But yeah, it's something, you know, I don't think, like, you know, at first I thought this was probably very lonely, but I guess maybe not as much as you think. Yeah, there's quite a bit of people coming around. And I don't know if you have like good internet reception here, but you know, you could probably have like a PC and potentially, you know, talk to people over the internet, so it might not be that lonely, yeah. But back in the day, it probably was pretty lonely beyond just your radio, yeah.
Is share the story of the lookout, because that's part of the job, you know. It's really a cool place, and it's a fun place to tell people about. Say if there is a smoke that we've spotted and it doesn't appear to be coming from a campground or something, then it would be incumbent to call it in. I would first go to the firefinder and get that data and get a distance and a bearing from here, as well as a place name, so that they can refer to their maps too. In this case, it's more of being a passive observer, not so much the prescribed watching for fires like I had mentioned earlier, where you have to every hour on the hour be looking for smoke.
And that's the thing. Russ isn't really here to look for fires. He explained to us that his main job here is actually keeping an eye on a campground at a nearby lake.
The lake had, like so many alpine places, become very popular and really took a beating from overuse from camping. And if you've been to a big festival, you know, I'm not saying Burning Man or something, but a big festival or a county fair or a state fair, and the grounds afterward just look so beat up. Then the Forest Service took stock of things, decided to get a grip on it. Around that time is when fire surveillance changed, and they were using aircraft a lot more and not lookouts. And so this became a place where the wilderness rangers lived, and they would go over and dig up plants and move them around and fill in the impacted spots around the lakeshore these days to ensure that people aren't starting to camp back over there. Having a ranger presence, just somebody to walk over
so more like a guard
and say hello and answer questions or be available if somebody needs help. So this is a key structure for people to live in and go over there and patrol and work, as well as monitor for fires around the trail system. It's two parts of the thing, and the third part is it's a historic structure.
Yeah.
There were, I think, 8,000 lookouts in this country at one time, and there are just a handful now. And this one is in remarkably original condition with the same furniture that it should have had and did have and still has. We've worked to restore it, and so it's a great example of Forest Service from back in the day. In any number of days when I wake up and just look out the windows here, or by moonlight,
it's one of the views.
And see Glacier Peak in the moonlight. It's really such a lucky thing to see.
Man, the views. The US shows a beautiful country.
After leaving the Cascades, we drove south to Mount Rainier to visit two of Washington's other lookouts. These towers exemplify one of my favorite things about these lookouts, that the Forest Service accidentally built some of the coolest hiking destinations imaginable. Fire lookouts were intended to spot fires, so they were built on high peaks with expansive visibility of the surrounding area, which makes for an incredible view. And when the lookouts were staffed, forest rangers needed a way to access them, so the roads and trails are already there. Yeah, no wonder these lookouts are some of the best hikes in the country. A lot of lookouts, including this one, are now part of national parks and forests and are maintained for hiking. And some towers have even become homes and Airbnbs. Back up in the Cascades, you can rent the top cab of Haybrook Lookout to spend the night. Those lookouts are popular hiking destinations, but others aren't so lucky. Many are falling into disrepair or being demolished.
I mean, you can't save all of
To me,
them.
these towers are skeletons. Gutted, wiry frames, all that remains of a long-forgotten approach to the outdoors, and ready to fade away if we don't take care of them. And that brings me to the tough, inescapable question surrounding fire lookouts. Are they worth saving?
I think it's like many things of, ancient time, right? It's like you can't really expect to conserve every single like old building, but some of it definitely for history, right? But yeah, I mean, imagine like in cities, they decided to like never destroy any kind of building from 100 years ago to keep how they looked, and then that wouldn't really work for like the development of the city, rebuilding buildings to like modern standard and stuff like that, right? I mean, I understand saving some of them for the history of it, as museum and stuff like that, but yeah, like everything, you can't really keep everything,
Is it worth spending time and money to maintain hundreds of lookouts that aren't actually looking out? You've had decades of experience working in the outdoors, in national parks, national forests. Are there any significant changes that you've noticed and have been able to observe in the way that we interact with the outdoors and environmental policy?
I can think back, 50 years ago when I was doing backcountry work, and the impact from people was so much. It was just the campfires and the trash, and one of my jobs was to dig garbage pits for people to throw their garbage into, and then periodically I'd go back to set it on fire so the bears wouldn't be digging in it so much, and that's how bad it was. To be able to now be in a premier subalpine setting and just not see the impact of people is really a dramatic change. Anyway, that's sort of the evolution of stuff that I've seen. It's a pleasing evolution.
Throughout this adventure, this theme keeps coming up. The relationship we as individuals have with the outdoors. One of my favorite lookouts back home was almost torn down in the 80s, but a group of local hikers lobbied the Park Service to restore it. Government policy and action is crucial, but ultimately it begins with people being invested.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to lobby the Park Service, and you certainly don't have to go into Russ's line of work. But I hope I've piqued your interest. Perhaps you'll become curious about these places, learn about them, visit them, care about them, and play a small part in keeping them alive. At the very least, you'll get to say you saw them while you still could.
I guess if I ever visit the US, maybe I'd go steal one, yeah.
Massive fire, but the response went so much deeper than that. This fire didn't just sell people on the Forest Service, but on the very idea of conservation. Within a matter of months, the people, the press, and even Congress were on board. Forestry budgets increased. For the first time, land on the East Coast was protected. Authors depicted forest rangers as heroes. This fire had gotten the country's attention and convinced it that this land is worth more than the industries that want it.
That's a good line, huh?
The fact of the matter is, a vast network of fire lookouts isn't necessary for spotting fires anymore, and we don't always even need to spot fires anymore. But sometimes that just doesn't matter. Sometimes it isn't about spotting fires, or driving tourism, or harvesting timber. Some places deserve to be protected for their beauty alone. Some places are just special.
I agree.
You are
That's
a
a view.
volunteer, and you're working clearly very hard to this structure, but also the fire lookout tradition
Yeah.
going.
Yes.
Why would you say it's important to preserve the lookouts and the lookout tradition?
I think the answer I would give is similar to I've worked on a couple of cabins that were restored. And it's one thing to read the account of the homesteader, but it's another thing to stand on their front porch and look out at their orchard and hear their words. And if the lookout wasn't here, you can read about it, but it wouldn't be the tangible experience of being in a lookout and being welcomed in it to see what life would be like for a few minutes to just stand here and take it in.
Lived experience are important, yeah. I get it. I mean, again, I'm sure that for the foreseeable future, yeah, there'll still be like some lookouts that are maintained as, you know, mini museum and hiker spots. So yeah, I don't think while they might not be fire lookouts anymore in terms of like what they're used for, I think they'll still be, you know, somewhat important. And I don't really see them really going out of like I don't see all of them disappearing or something anytime soon, at least. Eventually down the line, you never know, right? But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Great video. The landscapes are just breathtaking. It does make me want to play like a Firewatch game, but that's more, you know, an actual simulator, because Firewatch is still like more of an actual story game. But yeah, great video. I mean, an incredible location, that's for sure. I can't imagine though. Like I definitely wouldn't do it. You know, it's like, it's nice and all. I would hike to one of those places, but yeah. This, you know, light housekeeping and stuff like that, yeah. It's beyond me. It's too like isolated from civilization. This is beautiful. Great video. Okay, well, I like stuff like this. If you guys have more videos like this, don't hesitate. About unique historical scene like this, I would say. Yeah. Next we have the top 5 facts about the classic Filipino candies. Okay. By Pinoy I5.
I want candy! I want candy!
Filipinos' love for candies still prevails on a daily basis, but the mere sight of them conjures memories of our innocent, carefree days. So let's indulge in these 5 facts about classic Filipino candies that will surely satisfy your sweet tooth.
Lollipop, interesting, I guess.
Stork to Star.
Man, tol! Man, tol!
In its heyday, Stork was the ultimate Pinoy menthol candy. It was a
Oh.
consistent bestseller for Takatak boys and the breath freshener of choice for many cigarette smokers. The product was so popular that it was even exported to the US. Judging by its tagline, Stork, masarap kasama, the future seems so bright for this classic Pinoy candy, or so we thought.
Are you singing
Did it die?
In 1996, the Los Angeles Times exposed that Stork's Candies wrappers reportedly contain dangerously high levels of lead. Soon, Stork Products Incorporated, or SPI, the manufacturer of the candy, took a downturn. Asintoing of Ribisco
How do you put lead into a candy wrapper? Just use plastic, you know? I mean, a little bit of microplastic ingested has never killed anyone, you know? But lead, that's messed up.
came to the rescue and bought 60% of the company. Stork would later be rechristened as Star with almost identical packaging.
I expect a 5-star rating, you understand?
Yema.
Yeah, no.
Guess the joke's on me!
Yema is the Spanish word for egg yolks. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that this confection is also widely popular in Spain, where it also known as Saint Teresa's candied egg yolks. But where
Looks nice.
exactly did the sweet, milky candy come from? Apart from factoids, there are no other sources that accurately explain its origins. It is believed that Yema was a product of people's ingenuity and resourcefulness. Back in the day, cement was invented yet for building construction.
I'm pretty sure I've never worked construction.
As a result, people made their houses more durable with the use of lime combined with eggshells and egg whites. Soon, gallons of egg yolks were left unused. To ensure they won't go into waste, people started to create egg-based recipes such as leche flan and of course, yema. Today, yema can be prepared.
I'm a weirdo, like I don't really love eggs just like this, but stuff like flan and, you know, mini cakes and or candies made with eggs, I mean, I totally like it, but just, you know, like eggs like that now doesn't work for me.
Either as pyramid-shaped candies wrapped in colorful cellophane or as yema balls dipped in luscious caramel syrup.
Caramel.
Pastillas de leche.
I'll give you one candy for every wrapper you find.
Pastillas de leche, as we see them today, are often enclosed in white paper wrappers. Apparently, they pale in comparison with the elaborate paper-cut designs unique of San Miguel, Bulacan, considered by many as the original place of pastillas de leche. Inspired by Aztec arts and Mexico's papel picado, or perforated paper, the pabalat is often used as decoration or table centerpiece.
Shown in the center of the table. Glad you find that amusing.
Those that are used to wrap pastillas de leche often end up as wedding gifts or pasalubong. Tedious and intricate, the art of making pabalat is now on the verge of extinction. The few who practice it are now in their 70s or 80s. But thanks to the efforts of pabalat masters like Aling Nene Ocampo, this dying art will hopefully remain alive and continue to showcase the town's rich folk culture.
A magical place of cultural exploration.
Nips.
Wow.
Nips candy-coated chocolate is just one of the latest products that now carry the Jack
That
and
is
Jill
good.
brand name. And
I guess it's kind of like M&M's.
known to many, Nips is the anagram of the reverse form of the word spin, which in turn describes the spinning process used to create these cute milk chocolate candies.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Hello,
You never know
Neil.
what you're going
How
to
you doing?
get.
Nips is just one of the popular snacks and candies under Jack and Jill. As its name suggests, Jack and Jill came from the popular nursery rhyme. Owner John Gokongwei chose it because it had a nice ring to it. It was easy to remember, and best of all, it was a name that kids would easily recognize.
I never accept candy from strangers.
Lala Milk Chocolate.
Could we interest you in some chocolate?
For over 4 decades, Lala Milk Chocolate has been a staple in many local sari-sari store. Sweet but not too overpowering, this pastillas meets chocolate
Looks
brand
nice.
is
Looks
loved by a
nice.
generation of Filipinos. And for those who love to hear rags to riches stories, the origin of Lala Milk Chocolate fits the bill. In 1973, Bicolano couple Luvimin and Salvacion Belaro moved to Manila with their 4 children. Poverty forced the family to transfer to Balagtas, Bulacan, where Mr. Belaro had to work during the day and make kamote candy with his family at night just to make ends meet. The family later added cheese pastillas to their humble business.
Back in business!
One day, Mr. Belaro accidentally made chocolate candy out of the pastillas mixture. To conserve resources, he decided to sell the chocolates and crossed his finger that customer would love it. It turned out to be a bestseller, and the rest, as they say, is history.
That's nice.
The trademark Lala came from the initials of the first 4 Belaro children, namely Louis, Arlene, Dionisa, and Arlet. Today, Grace Point Enterprises, formerly Lala Food Productions, controls 70% market share to local chocolate candies and still enjoys success even without the help of TV advertisement.
And I'll always be more successful than you in nearly every way.
It's a sweet treat when you watch one of our great videos.
So
To
no
never miss
lollipop,
out,
huh?
all you have
Okay. I mean, you know, it's Candies, right? Even though I don't have the strongest taste these days, all of them look pretty tasty and I would love to try them. Yeah, that's kind of the feeling with all these candies. I mean, I really can't say like there's a favorite. They all look pretty tasty. It's making me salivate just watching this video. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Maybe one day I'll try some of them. Here's the link. Good video. I'm hungry now. Okay. So let's see. What do we watch next? Anybody share other videos? Nope. Okay, well, I'm already out of videos, so if you guys want, you can share videos. Otherwise, I'll see what YouTube recommend. what we could watch. Let's see. You got one? I'm sure you got one, yeah. Anything in here that looks interesting? Alright, what is this? Can LeBron save France? Okay. Alright then. This one we've seen before, yeah. This one could be interesting. Let's see. This one looks interesting. Nosferatu's Castle, man. I'll open that one. Oh, creepy nuts. Okay, I just put some DJM while we look. What else? What else? Submerged school building. Interesting. Okay, well, we get a few options. Well, this looks cool too. Medieval outlaws, okay. Then, suddenly there's a lot of video I want to watch. That's something. Usually I can't find anything. I mean, it's on my other account, right? Like, this is my new account for this channel. On my main account on a different browser. My recommendation are literally like every time the exact same thing. And I'm always like refreshing them, hoping that there will be something interesting. But it's always like, half of it is like videos I have no interest in. Then you have like, 25% more that's like stuff I've already seen or channel I'm already sub to. And then 25% of stuff maybe I'd like to watch. It's very broken. Okay, how about we watch this one? America's Fallen Cities, Atlantic City by Alexander Lotmans. 1 year ago.
This is Atlantic City, a barren, creepy, and forgotten resort town on the Jersey Shore, dominated by empty lots, surface parking, decrepit houses, and monstrous failing casinos. With occasional glimpses of better times, this city may be the most depressing in America, in a true encapsulation of the postmodern world. Declining population.
The true depressing city. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos about like America's dying town and cities, and this one still seems kind of like, just from the bit we've seen, it still seems kind of, like there's still some modern looking aspect to it. I've seen videos about, some of the old mining towns and stuff like that, where 80% of the population is gone, so it's like only a few people living in houses that are like very decrepit, and all of the houses around them are like literally falling apart. That's the true depressing town for me.
High crime and poverty define this former gem of the mid-Atlantic, a continued freefall from grace, because this was Atlantic City.
Are those old casinos?
A booming tourist town, Atlantic City was home to grand and glorious hotels, the most famous boardwalk in the world, popular beaches, high-profile events, and an impressive nightclub scene. The town's streets were lined with beautiful Americana architecture that was very charming, even for Americans back then, when every town was built classically. Simply put, Atlantic City was America's favorite getaway. Atlantic City had always been a resort town from when it was first established in the mid-19th century. It was meant to be an affordable option for Philadelphians to have a beach vacation, as tourism was growing in the US at the time, and urban residents wanted to escape the dense city to have an outdoor experience. A rail line was laid out in a straight line from Philadelphia to the South Jersey shore, and there was Atlantic City. By the 1870s, rail was bringing in over 500,000 tourists to Atlantic City annually, with trains dropping off visitors next to luxurious hotels by the beach. It was also around this time that the boardwalk was built, in order to prevent as much sand as possible from being dragged into the hotels. This boardwalk wound up being a resounding success, and Atlantic City's popularity exploded.
Call me stupid, but this is the first time in my 27 years of life that I learned what a boardwalk is. Yeah, I didn't know until now.
With new train lines bringing in people from all over the country. As the decades continued and we approached the 1920s, large grandiose hotels lined the boardwalk, along with an array of small businesses and attractions. And the city was referred to as the nation's playground, and in some cases, the world's playground, which was only exacerbated by prohibition, as many of the back rooms of restaurants and nightclubs were known for illegal drinking. And in the off-season, Atlantic City was known for hosting big events such as Miss America and large conventions in Boardwalk Hall, one of the largest arenas in the country at the time, when it was built in 1929. The thriving community had theaters, prominent clubs, and sprawling piers.
Diving horses? What? High diving horses, Hawaiian high divers, Hollywood War Relic exhibits. Wait. Can horse dive? I never thought about it.
Clubs and sprawling piers, but the actual locals had a neat experience as well. Beautiful row houses on narrow roads with local shops and amenities in walking distance. And the main streets like Atlantic and Pacific Avenues were built up with beautiful churches and municipal buildings as good as anywhere else in the country at the time. Atlantic City is where saltwater taffy was invented and where Monopoly got all of its property names from. And so, where did it all go wrong? Well, it boils down to a few things. Firstly, amusement parks like Great Adventure, Disneyland, and Disney World started to become more popular for families for weekend and summer getaways, meaning places like Atlantic City were losing out. Also, cheap airfare had also become a thing, and so people, particularly Northeasterners, started to vacation in places much farther away from home, such as Europe, Florida, California, and Vegas. Additionally, once the car became the primary mode of travel rather than rail, Atlantic City had to adjust and hence raised many of its tight-knit blocks to make way for parking lots, which, as we discussed several times on this channel, seriously ruptures the vitality and enjoyability of places. But what the rise of individual car ownership and a rising middle class of the mid-20th century also meant was people's outdoor vacations were now in much more remote locations, perhaps in vacation homes or timeshares. On top of this, suburbanization also meant that many of the residents fled Atlantic City.
Is timeshare still a thing? I learned about it through a South Park episode. I think it's the ski episode where it's a system where multiple people buy an house, I guess, and they're supposed to share it and, schedule with each other when they can go on vacation in it or something, which sounds like a big pain and the kind of thing that would get people to fight, right? Is that still a concept?
For a larger house and a longer commute, meaning whatever wealth the casinos generated no longer trickled down to Atlantic City directly, but more so to the far-out suburbs. All of this new competition meant Atlantic City had to expand beyond its original model. And so it went from being a beach resort town to a casino town, with gambling becoming the new bread and butter, taking a page out of the Las Vegas playbook, essentially trying to become the Vegas of the Northeast, and on the beach. Not a bad idea on the surface, but ultimately, it didn't work out. Atlantic City's beautiful ornate hotels made way for ultra-modern casinos with no redeeming aesthetic qualities, shifting Atlantic City from a picturesque beach town to, well, Vegas with water. And while this was sort of the goal, as I had mentioned, I think it's fair to say that it went down that route far too literally. These buildings were obnoxiously out of place and made the town feel eerie, and the disrespect these developments had on Atlantic City's cultural heritage doesn't take a history buff to notice and be repulsed by. It looks and feels forced and inauthentic. Simply a lesser version of what already exists.
Yeah, but do you think people coming to gamble all their money really care about, the aesthetic of the place? I don't know.
elsewhere. To be fair, there was a bounce back period in the 80s when
Okay,
Atlantic City
netizen.
initially went down this gambling direction, but as Vegas only grew exponentially in popularity and gambling became legal throughout the country, Atlantic City missed out once again. And the casinos have largely now failed. And now, rather than having a city that, yes, is a shell of its former self, but at the very least retains the charm and aesthetic of what once was, giving hope for a possible return to glory or at least some rejuvenated spirit, instead you have a city a shell of its former self that's more than half empty, and with dystopian-like skyscrapers dotted around where great buildings once stood. It's severely underappreciated in America just how insane and dramatic this is. This is how Atlantic City has transformed over the years.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Like, it's one of the things where like it's like that in many cities in the world, right? Modern building in general look kind of terrible compared to the old one. And I'm saying that without nostalgia since, you know, I'm 27, like I'm not 80 years old or something, but come on. Probably because this was so much more expensive to build, this kind of like ultra detailed building like this, rather than just doing like a fucking square skyscraper. You know. Money, money, money. There might be more reason to it.
Perhaps Atlantic City, with rising competition, had no hope in maintaining its previous
15
high
years
status,
back,
but
the casinos, only 18 and at pizza for dinner. That's nice.
in trying
That's
to
nice.
cling on to changing demands, it wound up shooting itself in the foot time and time again, raising its beautiful streets and hotels, building ugly with no regard for the town's history or previous redeeming qualities.
Every time I see any of this, like all I can think is the Tour Montparnasse in Paris, right? The one ugly ass skyscraper, right? And everybody hated it so much that it is literally the only one.
Simply transforming Atlantic City from the seaside playground that America had fallen in love with to towering gambling dens had put the nail in the coffin, rather than adapt and progress the city as was hoped. We've discussed on this channel before how many great cities and towns have also had to adapt and take on a new life as decades, generations, and centuries have gone by, but that in doing so, their beauty, heritage, and aesthetic culture were maintained, and if not, were enhanced, but in a way that carried on the previously laid out building traditions. This can refer to Venice no longer being a financial hub, but still a thriving tourist destination, London rebuilding itself after the Great.
But Venice is in big trouble because of the rising tide. I saw a video about it once and man, it's kind of scary that Venice might go under the sea eventually.
Fire, Haussmann building the great boulevards of Paris, or San Francisco moving away from shipping and into technology. But this list can go on and on and on. But rather than adapt and enhance, Atlantic City destroyed and abandoned. That's the core of the issue here. I think ironically that had Atlantic City hadn't changed anything, maintained its historical hotel buildings and neighborhoods, its family-friendly environment, and even so far as a strong rail system to bring people in and out of the place, that it would be extremely successful in the present day as both a beach destination for Philadelphians and as a rare slice of the classic Americana experience for people to enjoy. As someone that spent much time in Santa Cruz, California, a touristy beach town with an iconic boardwalk and a fair amount of historical and classically styled buildings, I have seen firsthand that this demand is there. Just look at this hotel that's being built there, for example. Beautiful, in an authentic classical style that is home in California. While it's always easier to say these things in hindsight, I'm also not necessarily blaming Atlantic City. It went through a period of decreasing popularity and simply looked towards the trends throughout the rest of the country and how to develop to try to fight back. We all know now, decades later, that these methods of prioritizing automobiles, destroying iconic buildings, and creating modernist and ugly places is just never going to be the answer. Nobody wants to hang out in a place that looks like this.
It looks like the apartment building I live in, basically.
Sadly, it's probably just too late for Atlantic City to ever bounce back now, but we can learn from this. Being distinctive is the key for placemaking because it creates character, identity, and something memorable. In bad times, cities with a rich history and culture should adapt, but never destroy or disregard what made them distinctive. And this, I think, applies to almost all cities and towns throughout the world. as modernism threatens to remove the distinctive culture and aesthetic of places wherever it touches. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Fair enough.
And of course, a shout out to my Master Architect patrons.
I mean, I'm guessing there's a lot of cities like this in the world, you know, that are like shared lesson in how to modernize a city, you know, and in the end, the lesson is applied in other places. I guess, you know, you have to have the failures to have the success, to learn the lessons and make things work out, I guess. Okay. Well, good video. Here's the link. Let's take this. Let's watch your request. Good video. Let's open this. Uncle Klunk, an animatronic abomination. Okay. I'm scared already.
The year's 1983 and you're visiting your favorite pizza arcade chain, Showbiz Pizza Place. You're excited to be reunited with all your favorite animatronic characters such as Billy Bob, Looney Bird, the Rockfire Explosion, and who the fuck? Welcome back to another episode of silly info dumps about animatronics for an hour. If you haven't already seen my previous video on concept unification, watching it will make this whole thing a little bit easier to understand. But to go over the basics, Showbiz Pizza Place was a rival pizza chain to Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater in their...
Okay, Chuck E. Cheese I know, yeah. Once again from South Park. Is it bad that most of my US knowledge is from South Park? Probably.
Early to mid 1980s. While you could find familiar faces such as Chuck E. Cheese, Helen Henny, and Jasper T. Jowls over at Pizza Time Theater, Showbiz Pizza Place had something much more exciting. The Rockafire Explosion, the world's most advanced animatronic band appearing across 3 stages at Showbiz Pizza Place locations across the country. The band consisted of Rolf DeWolf and Earl Schmerl on stage right, Duke LaRue, Fats Geronimo, Beach Bear, and Mitzi Mozzarella on center stage, plus Looney Bird and Showbiz Pizza's own mascot Billy Bob Broccoli on stage left. All of these
It's the eyes, like, they all have the craziest eyes.
Characters were created by inventor Aaron Fechter and his company Creative Engineering, who were co-founders of Showbiz Pizza Place, and they produced hundreds of units of these shows for over 200 Showbiz Pizza locations across the United States. Now, the Rockfire Explosion was well regarded, it was beloved by kids and adults alike, and has garnered a cult following that has lasted to this day, nearly 40 years after they were removed
Maybe
from
as a kid I would like it.
And while the show itself wasn't becoming stale, Showbiz and Creative Engineering were always looking for ways to push the envelope in terms of their animatronic characters and to entice visitors to keep coming back. So in 1982, it was decided that for the first time, the Rockfire Explosion would be adding a new member. Welcome to the Uncle Klunk Abomination.
He's the funniest robot science ever made.
Hello, you're on the air with Uncle Klunk. Oh, I get it. You're doing your impression of a telephone ringing. What are you, some kind of nut? I'd say you were more
It's not as bad as I expected.
actually. I'm beautiful, but you still have appeal.
The amazing Uncle Klunk, only at Showbiz.
Guess I'm too smart for the house.
During this time period where Showbiz Pizza Place was actively investing into R&D with creative engineering and wasn't hemorrhaging money, there were tons of ideas floating around of what kinds of animatronic characters they could bring to their restaurant chain in limited releases. One character that never made it into production was the animatronic likeness of Paul McCartney, who would then join the Rockfire Explosion on stage. Because the Beatles are a notoriously cheap property to license at the height of Beatlemania, right? There are some photos floating around of the production of the Paul McCartney animatronic, including an early face sculpt for the character, which I think comfortably falls into the uncanny valley. But like I mentioned, Showbiz Pizza never opted to go forward with this character in any of their restaurants, and the singular Paul McCartney animatronic owned by Creative Engineering was eventually sold to the US military as Private Paul, where he, and I quote, would dance to Michael Jackson's Bad for hours non-stop in a gas chamber to test for leaks in new uniforms. Welcome to the early 2000s, everyone. So while Private Paul never made his way in...
I need some seconds to process that. What? Okay.
...to Showbiz Pizza restaurants, Creative Engineering's next creation did. And that creation was Uncle Klunk. And hey, speaking of uncles,
He's
I
got a
wanted to
very
take a second to
dildo
thank the sponsor of this video, MyHeritage. It is the start of a new year, and what better time to find out more about your family lineage.
And at an incredibly low price of just $25 with code Sully25.
Their process is incredibly simple. When I received my kit, I was able to take my DNA swab in just a few minutes and send it back out for testing the very same day. And I'm happy to report the results are in. So now it's time to find out if Sully is part animatronic. Oh, the music is intense. This is worth the price of admission right here. So I'm 40.9%.
And once again, thinking of South Park.
That is very cool.
The Columbus episode where Randy like wants to do it, the DNA thing, and so he like pays an Indian guy to Native American guy to kiss him so that he has like Native American DNA. It's
16,000 distant relatives. My goodness. Look at that. We're talking about Uncle Klunk, and they found my uncle. My ancient origins are European farmer, which means my ancestors would be very disappointed in what I'm doing with my career. And you can learn more about yourself by clicking the link in the description, scanning the QR code on the screen, or by using code Sully25, where you can buy a bundle that will include a DNA test kit, a 30-day free trial to MyHeritage, access to their ancient origin feature, free shipping, and more, all for just $25. You genuinely cannot beat the value of MyHeritage, and rest assured, MyHeritage will never sell or license your genetic data. So click that link in the description, scan the QR code, or use code Sully25 to get your very own MyHeritage bundle. All right, so back on topic. Who the heck is Uncle Klunk? A lovable oaf of a television personality hosting the eponymous Uncle Klunk Abomination. And at the time of his development, this was the most advanced animatronic character that creative engineering had ever produced. On average, a single Rockfire Explosion character has around 17 movements. This would include motions like turning their head left and right, raising their arms, or leaning forward or backward. So at the time, the animatronic character that had the most movements was Rolf and Earl, with a total of 22 individual movements, but Uncle Klunk was coming in at a whopping 27 movements. That is the most movements implemented in a character to appear at a Showbiz Pizza restaurant ever, and nearly tying with modern-day Chuck E. Cheese's Studio C-Bot. Now, this was creative engineering's first attempt at a human character to perform alongside the Rockfire Explosion, and so they wanted to make him as fluid and realistic as possible, even with the limited technology that was readily available in 1982. And the result was this animatronic who stayed seated in a swiveling chair with his left leg crossed over his right. He had minimal movements in his lower half with a foot movement and the ability to turn his chair from side to side, but where the true ingenuity comes into play is in his upper half. You see, Uncle Klunk wasn't just advanced because he had a bunch of random movements. He had the ability to reliably pick up objects off of his side table. The two objects the character utilized in these early show tapes was a rotary telephone as well as a banana. Now, the way Klunk was able to achieve this amazing feat of seemingly picking up objects on his own was to be programmed in a very specific sequence. First, Uncle Klunk leans back in his chair, then his left arm will swing out with his wrist positioned upward, and once at the desired position, his wrist would move down, and his thumb would be triggered to move in and clasp onto the object. To pick up the banana, there was a secondary cylinder that swung his arm out even further to reach into the position to grab the banana, but the rest of the sequence was largely the same.
I've never really been into animatronic stuff, obviously, but looking at this, I'm kind of interested in the technology and how you even develop all this back then, especially. These days, I guess, we've all seen some of the AI robots and stuff like that, but this was crazy ahead of its time.
And the installation manual was very clear that you should not, in any circumstances, turn off the calibration tapes while Klunk is in the process of picking up or putting down an object, unless you want him to destroy everything in sight.
Now, to avoid damaging Klunk's arm and hand, don't stop the videotape unless Klunk is leaning forward and his arm is away from the table. And be sure to remember to stop the videotape player only when Klunk is in a static position during the cycle.
So using these techniques, Klunk was able to seamlessly pick up and put down objects just like a real human actor would. And now I understand in the year of our Lord 2026, a robot picking up a fake telephone does not sound that crazy. Sure. But in 1982, it was a huge advancement and one that creative engineering hoped to be the beginning of their second generation characters. In terms of actual performances, Uncle Klunk was originally voiced by longtime creative engineering collaborator Jeff Howell, who despite being deeply involved with the Rockafire explosion, never voiced a character aside from a few uncredited voice lines. Now, the version of Uncle Klunk that most people are familiar with has a very over-the-top, Goofy-esque voice and a cartoonish personality, but the Jeff Howell version of Uncle Klunk actually came from an initial demo sent to Showbiz Pizza that they promptly rejected. And why on earth would they reject an entire show tape? We'll get to that in a minute. Now, in this initial demo, Klunk's voice is a lot more similar to Jeff Howell's speaking voice with a deeper, more southern twang to it. And just in general, the character carried himself as more of a radio disc jockey of the era rather than becoming such a caricature. And this first show tape was not what Showbiz Pizza was looking for to introduce their new animatronic character. One of the first things Uncle Klunk does in this show tape is talk to children about drug use.
There's a new problem going around our country, and we need to warn you about it seriously. If any of your friends ask you to go behind the building or back in the woods and smoke some Crayolas, don't do it. Listen, it's very bad for you. If you don't smoke Crayolas.
He sounds like some kind of like redneck radio host or something.
How many of you kids out there smoke Crayolas? Huh? No, raise your hand. Come on, we can tell. We can see the stains on your teeth. That's right. Yes, we know who you are. Kids, don't smoke Crayolas. If you want to smoke something, go steal some of your dad's old dried up socks. Don't smoke Crayolas.
Also, that terrifying echo effect was not added by me. That is in the original. If I
Okay, I'm surprised because this is the kind of like, you know, stupidities that YouTubers do these days, right? I see some things never change. You know, just put an echo for comedy, classic.
I was the sole person in a Showbiz Pizza place, and an animatronic looked me dead in the eye and in complete silence played that sound clip, I would need therapy. He also told quite a bit of uplifting news that I'm sure all of the children were just thrilled to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, today in Los Angeles, California, a man attempting to walk around the world drowned. Yesterday, a train derailed in the very eastern part of West Virginia, or the very...
I mean, I'm sure eventually, like, the lines that he will have are much more like, you know, we saw a bit earlier, right? It's like ultra goofy and funny children comedy, right? But in a weird way, this kind of like almost too real comedy fits our creepy looks. Like this fits a lot more than, you know, children comedy.
Western part of regular Virginia. In the accident, 10 people were killed, 5 seriously.
Overall, this Dembo show tape is a lot of fun. Do I understand why Showbiz Pizza maybe opted for a more family-friendly show tape? Yes, but I'm also very glad that this exists. Once the initial Uncle Klunk show tape was rejected, creative engineering was instructed by Showbiz to completely overhaul the character, giving him a completely new personality, which you heard earlier, hiring an outside writing team, and just overall completely restructuring the Uncle Klunk Abomination. And the result was this.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, despite numerous complaints to the local police department, Showbiz Pizza Place fearlessly presents the Uncle Klunk Abomination!
Hold on, are we just gonna gloss over that? What did Uncle Klunk do that required police intervention? Anyway, this
So they called it the Abomination, okay.
version of Uncle Klunk felt much more like an old stand-up comedian rather than the shock jock we got in the first show tape, with him constantly cracking groan-worthy jokes, followed by his catchphrase of either "you're beautiful" or "I'm beautiful," which you gotta love the self-love Uncle Klunk was showing back in 1982.
Thank you, I'm beautiful!
Although they were able to keep in some of the unintentionally unnerving aspects of the show tape, including this phone call.
Who is this? Well, I'm Uncle Klunk. Uncle Klunk? Uh-huh. is that spelled with a K? Uh-huh. K-L-N-U-K? Uncle Klunk? Can you believe this?
I have no idea why that's disturbing to me, and maybe I'm alone in that. Overall, this Uncle Klunk is a much more watered-down version of the original character, and by watered down, I mean not at all like the original. In total, only one show tape was initially created for Uncle Klunk. The 49-minute show tape is split up amongst the 3 Rockfire explosion stages, giving Uncle Klunk a total of 4 segments. Each skit followed roughly the same format, with Uncle Klunk being introduced, telling a few jokes, taking some phone calls, and then ultimately throwing it back over to the Rockfire explosion. Callers ranged from the deranged laugher to Uncle Klunk's mother to his sidekick Murray D. Bird, who got a surprising amount of stage time considering he is the literal bird in a cuckoo clock. Now, to my knowledge, there doesn't seem to be any surviving footage of Murray D. Bird in action aside from this half-a-second clip that was included in commercials promoting Uncle Klunk, but it appears that he was just a 2-movement character with him able to open and close his mouth as well as pop in and out of the cuckoo clock. And this is further confirmed by a video from a collector who happened to get her hands on a Murray D. Bird mechanism. Now, I don't know if I've already mentioned this in the video, but because there wasn't room to build out additional stages in Showbiz Pizza restaurants, the decision was made to swap out Uncle Klunk for Rolf and Earl on stage right. There's a handy installation video for Uncle Klunk that details the process of retrofitting the Rockfire Explosion stage to fit this new character, and it is a lot more palatable than the concept unification tapes because you do not have a monotone voice instructing you to destroy all of these props as they will not be used again. The characters are simply removed from the stage and stored in a back room while they're not being used, something that I'm sure would not inspire a horror franchise nearly 3 decades later. And even though creative engineering and Showbiz were very optimistic for the reception of Uncle Klunk, only 50 of them were made, meaning not every Showbiz Pizza Place restaurant got one. Creative and Showbiz viewed Uncle Klunk as a traveling show, one that could do a residency at a few stores for a few months and then be swapped out to new Showbiz Pizza restaurants, so every store...
I'm surprised you didn't want to move that thing. I mean, especially for the time, I imagine the amount of technology was super fragile, right? So it's the kind of thing where, like, yeah, you want it in place and not moving.
Could see him while still keeping it as a limited time event. Again, the whole idea of this was to increase revenue and drive people back into Showbiz Pizza Place, so surely they wouldn't want to miss the animatronic of the century, and things turned around for Showbiz Pizza. Right? Unfortunately, Uncle Klunk didn't quite live up to the expectations that were set by creative engineering and Showbiz Pizza. Revenue didn't increase as both companies had hoped, and Uncle Klunk's reviews were mixed, to say the least. Aaron Fechter is quoted in an interview with the Journal Herald at the time saying that Klunk, quote, hasn't set the world on fire as I hoped he could do, and partially attributed that fact to the specific locations that Klunk was chosen to be installed in. But Showbiz Pizza had invested a lot of money into this character, and they were not gonna settle for a single show tape before calling it quits. No, they were going to make this animatronic character work. Or at least they were gonna try their best. So you're a Showbiz Pizza executive and you're tasked with finding out what went wrong with the Uncle Klunk rollout. You take a long look at the animatronic sitting in front of you, and you finally realize, I know what the problem is.
It's creepy as fuck.
He isn't nearly country enough. Yes, Showbiz Pizza Place's first bandage for the Uncle Klunk situation was rebranding him as Country Klunk. Now, you might not see the difference at first, so let me point out, Uncle Klunk has big ears, a big nose, a tacky yellow plaid suit, and an iconic orange afro. But Country Klunk has big ears, a big nose, a tacky yellow plaid suit, and an iconic orange afro. But he also has a cowboy hat and a bolo tie. Problem solved. They also recast the role of Country Klunk once again, this time passing him off to performer Sean Fernandez. And unlike previous Uncle Klunk iterations, this character didn't have any skits throughout the Country Klunk show tape, instead performing 4 country songs, including the Ricky Skaggs medley, Exactly How I Feel, Much Too Young to Die, and I Would Change You If I Could. The Country Klunk show tape has some absolute bangers in it, and I think it's pretty well regarded by the hardcore fans, but it did not do much to patch the hole in the sinking ship that was Showbiz.
What even was the sinking, like, genuinely? Again, this is meant for kids, right? So, like, how does making it a bit more country change anything? I don't get it. You should make it less creepy, like... Yeah, I don't know.
Pizza at the time. But you know who can fix anything? It's Santa! Yes, Uncle Klunk was retrofitted into Santa Claus, and all is right in the world. And for transparency's sake, I do want to point out that the Santa Claus retrofit did come before the Country Klunk retrofit, with Santa Claus debuting in winter of 1983, and Country Klunk not coming to the stage until about a year later in January of 1985. Much like the initial Uncle Klunk run, Santa Claus only graced our stages for a single Christmas-themed show tape that was used in stores both in 1983 and 1984. But in these show tapes, Santa Claus gets both skits and songs, and he does something that Uncle Klunk never did, which is actually interact with the other Rock Fire Explosion characters. He sang Jingle 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 from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Have a Holly Jolly Christmas, he read the audience a Christmas story, and much like Klunk, they were sure to show off his ability to pick up and hold a telephone by having him call back to the North Pole. There's very little documentation about Santa's presence in Showbiz Pizza restaurants and how he was received, but I can only imagine it was an improvement over Uncle Klunk. Santa Claus was a known quantity already and a character that kids would be really excited to see on stage, especially around Christmas time. So I think it's a shame that this stage didn't catch on more and is now only seen in a select few private collections. And then, as the story goes, shortly after the Country Klunk show tape, the two former pizza chain rivals, Showbiz Pizza Place and Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater, merged to become Showbiz Pizza Time Incorporated. I do not have the time to go over all of that history again, so I highly suggest you go watch the other video about it. So as the company was restructuring and trying to find its footing in this new era, they realized they still had a lot of random Uncle Klunk animatronics sitting around their warehouse. And like I said, they spent a good amount of money on these animatronics, so I think the best thing they possibly could do is carefully preserve these animatronics so that future oh, good lord! Yes, let me introduce you to Showbiz Pizza's third attempt to salvage the disaster that was the Uncle Klunk rollout, Orwell, a robot you control. Now, the purpose of this installation outside the main showroom was to spark the interest of kids who wanted to learn about the mechanics of the character and show them up close exactly how they work. And you know what? I'll just let Orwell himself explain it.
Hello, my name is Orwell. Those great folks at Showbiz have been telling me for years that I've got a split personality, so I finally decided to put it to work for me. By using the buttons on the control panel, you can be in charge of my movements.
You know, I'm all for introducing a new generation to the wonders of animatronics, and I think that on paper, Orwell is such a great concept. If they hadn't taken a beloved character and mutilated him before our very eyes.
But was he beloved? I thought he wasn't. That they kept trying to rebrand him.
You can control my movements by using the buttons on the control. From here on, I'm in your hands.
There's just something terrifying about an animatronic character that's seemingly sentient, but yet encourages passerbys to take control of his body, placing him in this weird liminal space between living and not. Maybe I'm just overthinking this. But you know what? Maybe the half Uncle Klunk, half Terminator approach isn't your style. Well, lucky for you, some other locations did away with the half and half cosmetics and just presented Orwell as a bare mechanism, which in my mind is a much less unsettling approach. And did they keep his same funny voice?
I don't know. I think I like the split one more, you know? It's basically the same concept as like in some school they have the, in science class they have the body mannequin, which, you know, alphabet has the skin and alphabet is like exposing the muscles and the organ. I mean, it is creepy but also pretty interesting. Yeah.
No, they didn't. Instead, they did something much worse.
Hello, my name is Orwell. I'm here to obey your every command. I have been programmed so you can control my movements by pushing the buttons in front of you.
He sounds like a depressed sex bot.
I'm ready, if you are.
Okay.
What is it with this
My body is ready.
and the terrifying echo chamber they throw his voice clips into? I thought I was on board, but now I'm scared and I want Two-Face back. Very few photos of Orwell exist online and zero footage of him in action has ever surfaced. You know what? I'll offer my same Yogi Bear cash prize to the first person that can send me non-released footage of Orwell in action. There's a distinct possibility someone watching this video has an old home movie that has footage of this character, so if you do, send me an email. So you must be thinking Showbiz Pizza was finally done bastardizing the corpse of Uncle Klunk after all these years. You'd be wrong. What do you get when you cross Uncle Klunk?
But again, it feels like, you know, this guy is kind of like not sure if he likes it or not. I mean, I thought it was creepy, I thought it was not popular, right? But he keeps saying, like, wow, it's so bad what they're doing with it. I think it's fine. I mean, they're still trying to repurpose it, you know, like, rather than just throw it in the bin.
Klunk with Santa Claus. The correct answer is Uncle Pappy. Now, Uncle Pappy was introduced at the same time as Orwell in Showbiz Pizza restaurants, with corporate just throwing anything at the wall to see if it would stick. Spoiler alert, none of it did. But one of the ideas they threw out there was in the form of Uncle Pappy, who was weirdly placed smack dab in the middle of the arcade. Ah yes, who doesn't want to play some skee ball while being watched over by an 8-foot monstrosity? And Uncle Pappy's shtick was weirdly limited in a way that leads me to believe that halfway through development, even Showbiz Pizza lost confidence in their own concept. All he did was give advice to kids in the form of songs that he sung a cappella, which I'm sure you could not hear over the cacophony of the arcade around him. Here's an example of some of Uncle Pappy's sage words of wisdom. That's it? That's your...
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the, you know, the time where, like, children were seen as, like, you know, like, they were, like, all the media was trying to treat them too childishly, and this is, like, the perfect example of it, right? I mean, what was that even about? It was so
We don't know what you do. We don't know who you are. The only 3 show audios that have ever surfaced of Uncle Pappy are him telling you to do as he does, look both ways before crossing the street, and to save your money. Well, gee whiz, thanks, Uncle Pappy. What would I do without that genius advice? I miss when he was telling kids to stop smoking Crayolas.
Don't do it.
But after the very short-lived installation of Uncle Pappy, only appearing in about 3 locations, Uncle Klunk was finally and unceremoniously ousted from his gig at Showbiz Pizza Place once and for all. Now, what happened to all of those Uncle Klunk characters? Who's to say? There are a few of them in the hands of private collectors these days, but nowhere near the number that we know once existed, so it's very likely that Uncle Klunk was used for parts or completely discarded, something that Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese are no stranger to. And what legacy did Uncle Klunk leave behind? Is he remembered for being the funniest robot that science ever made? Surprisingly, I would argue the thing that Uncle Klunk is most well known for over 4 decades later is being the subject of a popular creepypasta called the Uncle Klunk Incident. I'll link to the full story below, but the general gist of the creepypasta is that the Uncle Klunk animatronic had an uncanny ability to predict when tragedy was about to strike the pizza place, be it shootings or kidnappings, and would then verbalize these predictions moments before disaster struck. Showbiz then recalled all of the Uncle Klunk animatronics, but one store was accidentally left out of this mandatory recall. So of course this animatronic started reading the news and announcing the death of multiple people at Showbiz Pizza Place. Something that I must note, he kinda already did in his first show tape. Just seconds later, an entire semi-truck crashed through the restaurant, killing multiple people, yet leaving the animatronic unscathed. And thus, when you look up Uncle Klunk online, you will find that he has a kill count of 2. I know it's just creepypasta, but I am now considering it canon that Uncle Klunk is responsible for the death.
I mean, with the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah. He is the kind of character that would fit.
Death of multiple innocent civilians. If only they would have taken his advice.
Don't smoke Crayolas.
So there you have it, a complete history of Uncle Klunk, Country Klunk, Santa Claus, Orwell, and Uncle Pappy, the most retrofitted animatronic character in Showbiz Pizza history. This animatronic took on so many different forms over his very short tenure at Showbiz Pizza Place, but I think I can say that without a doubt, all of them were abominations.
Yeah, I mean...
Thank you guys so much for watching this.
It was something. It was something. I've never really thought much about animatronics, but man, it really was something. Creepy, creepy, creepy. Crayola, don't smoke Crayola. Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's even worse, right? like this was still like fairly popular animatronics. I'm sure there was probably some like even more like less popular animatronics that were even creepier, but just, you know, so unpopular that no one really knows about them anymore, I guess. Creepy. It's like, it's crazy that this was even designed, right? It's like, how does, you know, this is meant for children, how does any of this even get past the ID stage that they actually made, like 50 of them or whatever? You know, it's really that kind of thing where, like, you know, how was there no one to say this is stupid, let's do something better? It's crazy to me. Shogi, no. I have given up on Shogi. I am not big-brained enough. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, once again, if you guys want, you can share some videos. Let's see, what do we watch next? We could watch, I don't know. How about this one? A game video. Joining the most controversial player base on Steam by Warfrags FPS. Okay. Is this like a Napoleonic War thing? Oh.
Go, gentlemen, go! Oh my god, we cut down! They're running! They're running! We cut down so many that they're running!
Oof.
Let's go!
It's the British infantry, but I think it is
Well, let's go,
the Napoleonic War, yeah.
Let's give them steel! Well, let's kill them. You're having my dick in your hands, right? Don't fuck off, fuck off.
Oh, damn.
I got a license for your mom and my asshole. Come here, fuckface. You don't even have an air conditioner.
Okay. Aren't you on the same side?
I'm dying. Oh, wait. We ran into their line. Go back. Fall back. Run away. I can't sprint, man. I've been shot. Fall back, man.
It's not fall back. We're retiring. Gentlemen, charge your bayonets.
It's a tactical repositioning.
Charging. Bayonets down. Countercharge, boys.
God save the king.
And this is pretty fun, huh?
Portugal and Spain. King George commands and we obey. Over the hills and far away.
He's gonna die.
Save the king!
This looks pretty amazing, actually.
This is War of Rights, a game that
War
is
of
focused
Rights.
around strategy.
Whoever is a child on the fax machine, you need to get your
Oh no, I guess this is the American War. This is not Napoleonic Wars.
ass up to the bridge.
No, don't listen. We've been doing final game.
Coordination. And most importantly, team gameplay.
Stay in line.
Yeah, this is an American.
Take aim, fire. Wisconsin on the left, Brooklyn, no fucking volley, are you stupid?
Or at least that's the idea. Recently it got a brand new update that brought in a ton of new players and pushed the game to its highest player count ever on Steam. And honestly, it was well designed.
That's kind of low. That's kind of low. 1,000 is the top player count. Okay. Usually it's like, the average looks like 200. That's crazy though.
Pushed the game to its highest player count ever on Steam.
I think there was a game like that for the Napoleonic Wars before, like Old Fast, I think it was called, maybe? Never played, but it does look kind of fun.
And honestly, it was well deserved because I was there. I was actually in the very first match that started right after the update dropped. And I know that what I'm about to say might sound like a huge cliche, but it's really not. In all my years of playing video games, I've never experienced anything quite like what happened that day. And I think it would be a shame not to share it with you guys.
That looks great, huh?
Right as I joined, I was pleased to see that people were already getting into character. Holy shit, that's cool.
Like first person inside the battalion line with all the muskets firing at the same time. That's really like a vibe.
God save the king. Reload, checks and ready.
Oh, yeah, true.
Oh, we're getting into character for the
You don't have any king.
event, you suddenly slob.
Now, to clear up any confusion, this update introduces regiments from the 1776 American Revolutionary War, which was fought between the American colonists and British Army. That's why you might hear a lot of players practicing their English accents, because as I mentioned, this was the last official game before the update dropped.
Because we're British, can't you tell? Oh shit. Oh look, a bunch of slovenly Frenchmen. Gentlemen, down that column, 3/4 way up the corn, take aim, steady!
Just blind fire into the cornfield.
I know it might look like we were shooting into nothing, but this was the map, this was the point that we had to capture in order to win, and the enemy was somewhere in this cornfield. We couldn't see them, but our officer could, and using this marker that he placed on the ground, he was telling us exactly where to shoot and how high we should aim.
They might have already had it. Gentlemen, once more, down this column, hold, actually hold.
Hold. Hold.
Hold, gentlemen. I believe something funny is happening. Yes, I do not like this much. Good heaven.
This tactic worked surprisingly well because the enemies were not exactly sure where we were shooting them from.
Down that column, gentlemen, down that column, halfway up the corns.
I always watch videos like this where people have like so much fun playing multiplayer game with voice chat, but every time I play a multiplayer game I just play solo. It always ends up like this. I just like, you know, play as John Rambo and that's it.
Steady!
Don't shoot my head.
Good hits! Reload, checks are ready.
Fuck, that was scary. Well, until one of them found us.
There's a Frenchman there. Come here, you scum, I see you. Step forward, God! Die, fiend! You slovenly Frenchman.
Is he dead?
Alright, excuse me, let me get back. I gunned him down like a dog. Fate every Frenchman deserves. Now, gentlemen, hold your
Oh my
god.
And of course, after our officer took care of that enemy player, it didn't take long for the rest of his company to find us as well.
Oh shit. Gentlemen, right down that column, right down that column, right down that column. Gentlemen, take aim down that column. Quick. Halfway up the corn, halfway up the corn. Steady.
Don't move, man.
Reload, Jackson, ready. Get ready, gentlemen, they might charge. Get ready.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're shooting
Getting...
back. Shit.
Yes, they're shooting back. That's how war works, son.
Yeah.
Down their flag. Good hit, gentlemen. They're pushing, boys. They're charging, boys. Shoot the officer first.
There's always one guy that's like too hype and plays the commander.
Just like that, things
Chill
get
runs.
very intense, very fast in this game, but luckily we managed to come out victorious against that enemy charge.
That, gentlemen, that was God's work. Stand back
We
on the
have to
fence,
see the enemy
return,
once.
prepare. We will wait for the rest of our friendlies.
And now it was time for us to attack.
All right, gentlemen, up and over on me. Hold shots, up and over, bayonets down.
Oh, let's go,
Flag,
up
you
and
stay back
over.
here. Flag, you stay back here. NCOs, you stay with the flag. NCOs, you stay with the flag. Flag, stay back there. Infantry, up and over, bayonets down on me, boys. Everyone,
Using the cornfield as cover, our officer's plan was to sneak as close as possible to the enemy company, then surprise them with a sudden charge. But while moving through the corn, we had to stay quiet, because in this game, enemy players can actually hear you if you use your microphone.
That's cool.
Naturally, our teammates behaved exactly as you would expect.
Idiots.
hey, we're over here. Shut the fuck up, you monkey. We lose this charge because you're fucking retarded. I will actually be mad on this line, gentlemen. On this line.
It's so easy. In game like this, it's always between the people who want to play it seriously, because, you know, that's how they have fun, by playing it seriously and trying to win, and people who are just there to, like, you know, act funny, and that's how they have fun. And it's always the problem of, like, finding the balance.
Gentlemen, on this line, they're going to be somewhere down that direction. Gentlemen, take aim down that direction, straight in front of you. Steady. Ah! Charge!
Charge! I don't have my bayonet on, man. Oh, we're charging. Let me get my... Yeah, that'll do it. I'm gonna hit them with the butt of my gun. Yeah, let's go!
That's the way to do it.
Where are they, man? Oh, there he is. Get him! Fucking coward. Something was wrong because after taking out these guys we realized they weren't part of the big company that charged us earlier, but at the moment we didn't think much of it and decided to use our momentum and continue to rush towards the capture point, not knowing that we were heading straight for the enemy's trap.
Oh shit.
Don't advance past here. Spread it out, spread out, spread out, spread out. See him on the right, on the right, on the right. Watch that right, watch that right. Don't shoot.
Right.
Don't shoot. Watch that right. Hey, if you're on the left side of the line, making a pseudo L, watch this. Anything comes on the left, shoot that, gentlemen. Once you cap, you immediately start sprinting back to the pit. Hold, don't aim. You're just wasting stamina. Just wait. If they push, get ready.
Is stamina for aiming?
Left side flag.
Oh shit.
They're coming.
West side.
I don't know if we should have shot.
Right, get ready and run now.
Fucking run. The enemy's numbers were overwhelming, so we had no choice but to retreat to our old spot, rebuild our numbers, then countercharge.
Absolute chaos.
Yo, sorry.
Friendly fire.
I killed two guys. Yeah, yeah, let's go. Oh.
Nice.
I killed two friendlies. Is Yoda saying a bunch of pussies you are? Oh my god, everyone is charging this, look at this.
The 1 FPS map.
At this point, this match was almost over, so whoever was going to capture the objective was going to win the game, so as you would imagine, what followed next was a bunch of charges and...
Do not push! Do not waste tickets! Get that flag off!
Sister! You're not taking my sister! You're not taking...
You're dead. Chaos.
Hold the line!
What the hell?
Hold the position! Wisconsin on the left! Wisconsin on the center!
Stay in line.
What is this? Take aim! No! Get on these fucking stands! Take aim! Fire! Wisconsin on the left!
Everybody's firing already.
Volley, are you stupid? Make them stop! Oh, they're getting ready to charge! Get ready, boys!
Are we charging?
Just charge and go!
On the right!
Right.
Don't charge.
Right, you fucks. West.
They're coming.
Oh, I can't move.
Don't team kill.
Oh, here he is, go!
What a mess.
Bayonets and go! Fucking whatever, retard!
Like again, I've been playing Mountain Blade Bannerlord recently, as I've talked about so many times, and a mod called Docu, which is on the same Goku Jedi, right? And you can do like, you know, I don't know if you musket, what are they again? I forget the name, but you can do like, you know, gun volley, right? But it's not the same because you're not playing against players, right? I mean, I think there's a multiplayer mode now for Bannerlord, but probably not with Doku. So I haven't really experienced this, yeah.
Order to countercharge just lost us the match. Whatever retard order to countercharge lost us the match. Yeah, whoever that monkey was that drew that big line in order to countercharge lost us the match. Bayonets and go.
Who was that? Yeah.
Don't be mad, sir. You did a great job.
Oh my god, it was the fucking level 12.
Wow.
Oh my god, we're so cooked. Of course. Push him out. We got this shit, boys. We got this shit. Hey, Brooklyn Baby brought this shit back from defeat earlier with that charge. We're gonna bring it back again.
Yeah.
Take this point and hold it.
Scream Allah. I'm ready to die, boys.
Scott, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm going for this one. What the fuck? Oh, no.
Didn't die.
Oh, I don't know what.
Well, that didn't go far. More of it.
Holy hell, look at this.
That's a good view of the battle.
Right as the game was ending, the event that everyone was waiting for was finally starting. Oh, it's starting, let's go. And people were clearly excited.
1776.
Oh, here it is, the loading screen. This is exactly how I feel after playing this game for 1 hour. Alright boys, we are in. The first game of this event, let's see what people think.
Celebration.
Yep, this was insane. The server was full. Oh, and if I didn't mention it already, the servers on World of Rights can hold as many as 400 players.
That's
I
good.
remember that while I was playing, someone in chat wrote that there were 3 or 4 full servers at once, which was insane for this game. I will insert the clip here if I can find it.
There's over 1,000 people playing right now. That's insane. Almost like 1,000 something people. Like 3 servers are full. 3 servers are full with 400 people. Really? There's 3 servers?
Also, if at some point during the video you see a player with this logo next to his name, just know that he is one of the developers of this game. It was awesome to see the actual devs of the game hop on and play a few games with us.
There's so many.
That's cool.
So many of us. Look at those guys going, man. They're so organized. That.
Oh, the King George!
What are we doing? Okay, why are we just standing?
Who's the child? We have a child here.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Das doesn't seem very uncommon for the time period. Huh? There was a lot of team constraints. Huh?
Shut the fuck up, child. Child! Silence, little boy!
This is what all that should have been.
Nobody gives a fuck. GC, bro.
Send the child forward to make ranging marks for us.
My goodness, I almost spilled my cup of tea.
Bloody hell, not the tea. Someone take that child and bring him back to be a drummer boy.
Yes, sir. Where is my premium
muskets? I have to protest, sir. I can't have this tea without biscuits.
For the king.
Most British man, no?
Oh, they're in front of us.
Oh man.
Hey! Present!
Yeah.
Present! I don't even know what we're shooting at!
It's really satisfying, the sound effects. Huh? As everybody shoots at the same time.
Ready? Oh my god, that's brutal.
Oh,
Oh, that's sick as hell.
yeah, that's satisfying. Huh?
Present!
There's too much smoke. Oh shit.
You really can't see shit, yeah.
That's
A smoke effect are great. Huh?
What are we shooting at?
man.
How much smoke there is. This is sick.
I can't see shit.
I mean, that's likely what it was at the time. Huh? After a few volleys, there's so much smoke you can't see shit. The point is just to shoot for one.
Oh, that's sick, man.
It's marvellous. You guys are doing marvellous work.
Marvelous.
Marvellous. Marvellous work.
Staring. He's always shooting after everybody. 1, 2, 2.
Where's the Queen's Guard? The Queen's Guard. Wingardium Leviosa.
As long as nobody team kills me, I'll keep playing the flute.
Move out of the way, Charlie. Move out of the way, Charlie. Come back.
Don't practice anywhere else.
Move back.
We still don't actually see anyone.
Take some of that.
Oh yeah.
There's so many of them.
Like, I actually want to see the enemy I shoot at. Oh shit! How did that happen? I guess even if you could see, you can't see 2 seconds after shooting, so too much smoke.
Oh, see, they're dead. I killed one dead. There's no way they're alive. Oh shit. Charge! Let's go!
It's quite a few of them.
Give them steel, let's give them steel!
Yes, chaos. Nice. But why Ismail keeps on really needing to kill all the Abomination? Where is the Patriot?
We're actually marching, this is sick. Look at this. Not the music.
Keep it up, we'll catch the pirate. I'll sink him along with the rest. Oh, something, you fucking sluts.
Look at this. This is actually sick, man. At this point it was pretty clear that everyone was having a great time, but things were about to get even better after I ran into some old characters from the previous game.
Characters?
Holy shit,
That's screaming.
All the cells.
We really need like a good leader.
March forward! Stay quick time, gentlemen. Close the gaps. And glory!
Quick time only, gentlemen.
We are marching straight at them and this is crazy.
It's probably hard to actually keep the line. Huh?
Ready! Oh shit. Come on! I didn't reload. Fucking shit.
The King's greatest right here.
Oh.
Gentlemen,
King's greatest.
present.
Oh, I'm going for that fucker. Come on.
Fire!
Then no way you that actually hates him.
Oh, charge, they're charging. Bayonets down. Let's go.
With the color fading out, you can turn it out with your side on it. Huh?
Kill him. Oh shit, he's standing.
Against the uniform.
Oh,
Dead.
help. Honestly, the
Uniform
guys
help.
that were leading the companies, the officers, were making this event so much better. Take this next guy for example, who I am pretty sure lost his voice by the end of this event. Take him! Steady! My
You know it's only works because people hold the fire. Actually listening.
Take him!
That's nice. Huh? They look good. How about you?
He's screaming from the top of the lungs.
Yeah, you can share video if you want.
I can't see shit. I'm dead? No.
No.
Jolly good shot.
Most of the gameplay is still like shooting at stuff you don't see, huh? Hoping you're gonna hit something. Huh? I do like this as a commander you could put a line on the ground so the soldier can line up exactly how you want them. That's smart.
Advance.
To the line. I can't get my gun loaded, sir.
That is nice. Huh?
Go back, go back, go back, go back. Oh, they're charging, they're charging, they're charging. Bandits. Oh no. Left side. Up the hill, charge, charge. Attack. Attack. Oh. Yeah.
How do you see, like, with your eye on that, seriously? I would constantly kill my allies.
At this point, it was pretty clear to me that the players of War of Rights are really dedicated to this game, and this event was an awesome experience that I will definitely not forget. If you guys would like to see more War of Rights content, let me know down below and I will definitely try to make that happen. Have a good one.
Okay. Okay, well. All I can say is that it looks like a lot of fun. No? Definitely the kind of game that I enjoy playing. I mean, this video is already from 8 months ago, so the player base might be even smaller by now, but yeah, it seems like fun. No? Here's the link. Great video. Great video. Okay. Well, I enjoyed that. Let's see what you get. This and this. Gran Turismo. I guess I'll take this one for the music. Let's learn about the music of Gran Turismo. Here we go. Right over here. So, how the music of Gran Turismo became so iconic. By Roffy Waffle. Okay.
So picture this. You're watching a YouTube video about SpongeBob SquarePants. Just roll with it. It's actually pretty good, but at some point you notice something which sounds very familiar.
But why should we care about any of this?
The great Implement, I saw you posted some new video about cars that's like an hour and a half or something.
SpongeBob isn't real. Bikini Bottom isn't real. Nothing about SpongeBob is real. And at the end of the day, SpongeBob is just a series of colorful images strung together for 11 minutes a pop.
That's right, you just got Gran Turismo. But seriously, this is just one example. There have been countless times when I'm just minding my own business, watching a completely unrelated video, and then bam, a smack of nostalgia straight in the face.
Best out of 5. I mean, can we go again? You got like a really easy one here.
If you watch content on YouTube, there's a very good chance you'll stumble across the music of Gran Turismo at some point, and there's also a very good chance that you'll like what you hear. Gran Turismo has always been a fairly popular franchise, but what many don't talk about are the people who only know the games because of the music. Now this phenomenon is not exclusive to Gran Turismo, but recently it's something that I've seen happen a lot more frequently, and in some cases there are people who've gotten into the series from just the music. The power of these original soundtracks is quite fascinating, and in some cases begs the question of whether the music is so iconic because of the game it's in, or is the game so memorable in part due to the music? Honestly, it's a bit of both, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I think I played one on PS2, but that's probably it.
Gran Turismo has had countless incredible soundtracks over the years, both original and licensed, but when it comes to the original music, you'll notice that over the 8 mainline titles, 2 in particular are mentioned a lot more often whenever this gets discussed. Why is this? But also, how could a composer who is almost entirely unknown be the driving force behind the vast majority of these tracks, which people have cherished for decades, and in some cases have grown up with and helped shape their entire taste in music? So whether you're a diehard GT fan or just a casual observer, join me on this adventure as we dive into the history and legacy left by the music of Gran Turismo. So, I know it's a cliche to say let's start from the beginning, but
it needs to be done, no? I really know nothing about this franchise. 3 to 6. I don't even know if it's still alive.
Castle, the unofficial theme song of the franchise, making its debut on the original Japanese release of the original Gran Turismo, it truly...
I was also wondering, like, is it a Japanese game? Yeah, okay. That explains it.
It has been part of the series from the very beginning, and much like the games it's featured in, has evolved over time as well, with various different arrangements and compositions for the various Gran Turismo titles. My personal favourite is for the intro of Gran Turismo 2, and this part in particular.
Damn. Okay. That's what I expected, no?
Simply perfection. This work was the brainchild of Masahiro Ando, an already well-known Japanese musician, both in his own right, but also as the lead guitarist of jazz fusion band T-Square. T-Square's popularity was already well established in Japan through their previous work, including the main theme of Fuji Television's coverage of Formula One. The song is named Truth, and was used in various guises from 1987 all the way to 2006. And so, this made the decision to get him on board a natural one, and needless to say, he didn't disappoint. T-Square even released a separate version of Moon Over the Castle titled Night Song. The guitar is replaced with a synth, and the overall arrangement is slightly different. It's still awesome, but having listened to the original for so many years, it's hard to shake the feeling that this one seems a little bit off. As well as the title track, Ando also created a lot more original music for the in-game soundtrack, mostly used in the races themselves. Outside of Japan, however, his music was completely replaced for the international release of the game with a fully licensed soundtrack. The title song was changed to a remix of Everything Must Go by the Manic Street Preachers, and the in-race music scored by the likes of Ash and Feeder. The menu music was handled by British composer Jason Page. Not to be confused with Jason Page with an I, who was the singer for the original English Pokemon anime theme song, funnily enough. But Jason was only given 2 weeks to compose 45 minutes of music, working at a rate of 2 tracks a day, which is insane. Honestly, it's a miracle the soundtrack turned out as good as it did.
That's more than insane, I mean. Like, I'm sure you can do it, but how do you expect it to be good when you give someone so little time?
This ended up with...
You have to assume that the guy just went into his, tape and stuff that is already composed but not really used yet and just pulled out some stuff like that.
Western release of the game having a drastically different feel through the music. Whereas the Japanese version had slick guitars and funky bass lines, over here it had a more rough industrial feel. I won't say it's bad when compared to the original, just very different in tone. Over in Japan, Ando was kept on as the main composer for Gran Turismo 2. Once again, his music was sadly not heard in the international release, with a licensed soundtrack used over here instead, but that won't stop us from appreciating his tunes. I've mentioned his rearrangement of Moon Over the Castle, but another personal favourite of mine is Call of the Wild.
Man. I'm sold. I'm sold.
Despite not being widely heard outside of Japan, one of these other songs in particular has gained massive popularity.
I need to look up what else is done because I feel like I know more stuff from him. Composer. Capcom. Let's see. Video game music database. Let's see. JoJo game. Capcom vs NK. Someone we share. Final Fantasy 13 2. Okay. But for some reason, they don't even list Gran Turismo here. Wait, is this the same guy? Sound designer, sound director. Final Fantasy 15. Evil Within 2. Masashiro Endo. Wait, wasn't it Masayuki Endo? Am I confused? Let's see. Composer. Okay, I guess I confused him, yeah. I confused him with Masayuki. Okay. T-Square. So artist, video game. Arc de Life, Gran Turismo. Okay. And Gran Turismo 7 in 2022, okay. Fair enough. I mean, still crazy, like the type of music, I just don't really... associate awesome guitar music with like racing game. I think more of like, you know, I guess the kind of Need for Speed vibe of like pop and rap and hip hop and all that.
In recent years, it's called Blue Line.
And maybe hard rock, I guess.
Four out of 5. Finally, the PS4 receives its knack killer.
Wow.
And now back in. I think you're gonna drown. You're just jumping through the ocean like a dolphin.
Okay.
It's beautiful. And that's the story of how A Crew and Z Crew. How are you doing this? Is this planned? Became Team Alphabet. Gordon Fieri.
Together at last. Together forever.
And the song is
Sorry
incredible.
to spoil this moment, but just a bit of a tangent. So, there's been a little bit of confusion as to who actually composed this and a couple of other songs on the GT2 soundtrack. You see, in some places it's credited to Ando, but in some others it's credited to Keiji Matsumoto. Who is Keiji Matsumoto? Well, a quick Google search will lead you to a model of the same name, and digging a bit deeper, you get, very confusingly, a former racing driver. This is just a coincidence, because the guy we're looking for is entirely separate and was actually the keyboard player for T-Square, the band which Ando helped form, albeit he was only part of the band for just over a year. This chart from T-Square's Wikipedia page shows this very well. This massive green bar at the top is Ando's tenure in the band, and this tiny little patch of purple is Matsumoto. But it just so happens that this period lines up with the release of Gran Turismo 2. So who made these tracks? Well, after researching this for way longer than I intended, I got to the bottom of it. This old review of the soundtrack states that Ando was the composer and Matsumoto merely arranged each piece. So there you go. However, Ando was not the only composer in these first two games. Enter Isamu Ohira. Ohira composed most—
There often seems to be confusion for like game soundtrack and anime soundtrack on specific songs, yeah, like who did it. It's not uncommon.
The menu music for the original Japanese release of Gran Turismo. In fact, you're listening to it right now. Some tracks like the Motoria City, Drift of Air, and Mr. Four-Wheel Drive might seem familiar because they were actually remixed for some of the later titles. Again, we didn't get these in the West. However, the difference with Ohira's tracks are that in GT2, the menu music—
And maybe the licensed music is good, but I feel like if I ever play this game, I'm getting the GP version.
was carried over for the international releases, so many people finally got their first impression of this music, and let's just say, it was a pretty good first impression.
So much style.
I think now is a good time to say that I'm not a music critic. I like racing games and I like listening to music. Simple as that. So forgive me if I don't go far enough in depth with describing what I enjoy. I'll just say that with Ohira's tracks, you get incredibly tight bass lines, punctuated with horns, or synths made to sound like horns, and a strong rhythm. Many songs are quite fast-paced, as you can hear, and very upbeat. In my opinion, they work perfectly for a racing game. Moving on to Gran Turismo 3, Ando would take a bit of a back seat. He still made a new composition of Moon Over the Castle for the Japanese intro of the game, but his primary role of making the in-race music was handed over to Daiki Kasho. Kasho made a handful of tracks which also ended up in the international releases of the game, alongside more fully licensed tunes. All of this meant that Ohira was effectively the lead composer of the game. He still composed mainly for just the menus, making 8 full songs in total, as well as smaller jingles for things like the license tests, as well as the beginning and ending of each race.
That is
In
nice.
my opinion, Gran Turismo 3 is where Ohira ascended to the next level. Take what I said about his music in GT2 and just turn that up, because here it's the same, but just with more in every area. Let's play a game. So, if you're not familiar with GT3 or the music in GT3, I want you to close your eyes and tell me which part of the game that you think this song comes from. Take a listen.
Like we say, a lot of it feels like JRPG song. If you didn't tell me this was from a racing game, yeah, I would think it's from a classic JRPG.
That's right, the car dealership. Obviously. What I love so much about these songs are that they're all unique and have their own identity, but still fit within the mold of GT3. They're all fast-paced and high energy, well except for the music in the garage, but the strong bass line gives that its own charm as well. Through a lot of these tracks you get this feeling that the game is urging you on, almost saying, go, get out there and win some races. And it's that feeling which I just adore, and Ohira's work on GT3 captures...
I'm related, but with Forza Horizon 6 being in Japan, I really hope that they have a killer soundtrack. I mean, I hope so.
That feeling better than any other racing game I've ever played. So what we've listened to thus far is the in-game music, of course. But due to the limitations of the PlayStation 2, the music had to be compressed and made using a MIDI, so sadly some of the quality has been lost. Thankfully though, all of the menu music from GT3 was released as a separate album and fully recorded with live instruments as well. This takes the music to an even higher level. For example, take the music in GT Auto, which sounds like this. A catchy little tune, but fairly innocuous. But when we listen to the live album, the song, named Take a Break, goes a bit harder.
Man. La bass, sick.
Incredible. Isamu Ohira is just unstoppable when fully unleashed. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I consider GT3 to be the best Gran Turismo game, and honestly, maybe even the best game of all time. So obviously there is going to be an amount of bias, and of course nostalgia at play. But what I'll say is that even though GT3 is an incredibly fun game that does a lot of things right, the music seems to elevate it to another level. It takes the game from simply an incredibly good racer to an all-time classic in my view. The music can only have a limited impact on the overall quality of a game, but it's my belief that without a soundtrack this goddamn good, GT3 would not be as well remembered as it is today, and we have one man to thank for that. But that's just part of the story, because a few years later we got Gran Turismo 4, and our boy Isamu is back at it again. A lot of the music here are remixes of his previous tracks. For example, this one named Light Velocity is a remix of the GT3 dealership music we heard earlier, and is used in GT4's arcade mode menu. He also remixed a few tracks from GT1 that a lot of people had not heard before due to being Japan exclusive. Here's Mr. 4-Wheel Drive, which I mentioned before. Originally the music for the Subaru dealership in GT1, and now in GT4 it's been remixed and used for the main GT mode menu.
Even music in the menu goes on.
But it's not just remakes. He also blessed us with many original songs as well. Take a listen to a personal favourite of mine, the mission mode music.
Okay, I guess this is the one that I recognize, yeah. A lot of YouTubers use this track, definitely.
How he manages to fit the theme of both GT4 and the mission events, while also creating something truly original, is just incredible. Remixes included, Ohira composed about 20 songs for the soundtrack, as well as smaller tunes for the licenses, coffee breaks, and the start and end of each race. The overall tone and visual design of GT4 is much different from GT3, yet he still managed to make tracks which show his best qualities as a composer and very much fit with the game. The songs here are generally more relaxed than GT3, and a few of them could even be described as melancholy and reflective. I personally prefer GT3's because of that element I mentioned before, how those songs get you pumped up to race. Not a lot in GT4 has the same effect, so there is a bit of dissonance. But maybe that's just me. I still really love these songs, and some of them are arguably even better when you remove them from the context of the game. The more relaxed element makes them perfect to use as background music, and is likely why we see so many creators do so. And it's clear from the comments on many of these songs that the love for them is still very real even decades later. As Daihatsu Midget so eloquently puts it, Isamu Ohira isn't a composer, he is a god. Thanks for that input, Daihatsu Midget. In the soundtrack department, things were looking great for Gran Turismo as it moved into the PS3 generation, but with the release of Gran Turismo 5 Prologue and then later the full game, it became clear that something had changed. We had gone from tight funky bass lines to smooth saxophones and relaxed pianos.
Okay, but it's a racing game.
Ohira himself was nowhere to be seen on the soundtrack. What happened? While there's no public information as to why this change occurred, it's most likely one of two possible reasons. One, Ohira himself chose not to continue composing for the series, and so Gran Turismo had to find new composers who would end up taking the series in a different direction. Or two, Gran Turismo decided they wanted to go in a different direction and chose not to continue with Ohira. Personally, I'm more inclined to think the latter. The way in which the overall presentation completely changed this relaxed, refined style makes me think that this was their plan from the beginning. We saw how GT4 changed the tone, but GT5 and onwards took this to another level. And if you were playing these games at the time, this was quite noticeable. Combined with the often egregious loading times of the PS3, many people would lament that they now had to sit through a minute of relaxing lounge music or smooth jazz before they could even race. If you go back and compare this with GT3, it is night and day. They're not even close. Not to say that Gran Turismo should never evolve and change, but it goes back to that idea of getting you excited to race. To me, this should be the primary purpose of the music in a racing game. And that's no slight against the new composers. A lot of this new music is pretty good when divorced from being part of a racing game. I'm not saying these types of games should never have music like this, but when this is the main motif, it can clash with the game genre and make it seem a lot colder and lacking personality. I've even used some of this music in my previous videos, and will continue to do so because they work well with video essays, but when scoring a high-octane racer, the dissonance is just too strong. If you turn the game on, without seeing any of the cars, most people wouldn't even know this is supposed to be a racing game, and part of that is of course down to the visual design as well. I'll admit that not every song is like this, and there are some gems in there which capture that classic spirit of Gran Turismo. So anyway, Ohira was gone from GT5, but he did make a brief cameo in GT6 where a couple of his older songs were just reused. GT Sport came around in 2017, and again Ohira was absent. That was until the game's first major update in December 2017, when the GT League mode was added and one of his classic tunes was brought back as well. Take a look at this.
That's my kid, so.
The tonal whiplash is immense. This, I feel, really highlighted the difference between what Gran Turismo used to be and what so many people fell in love with versus what it had now become. So, what was the point of this video? To just showcase these old tunes and bathe in nostalgia? Well, partially yes, but more than anything, it's to highlight Ohira's contribution to the series. Of course, music is very much a matter of taste, and not everyone will appreciate the songs in the same way, such as this guy who compares it to comically bad elevator music. What sort of elevators has this dude been on? Well, elevator music or not, what you can't deny is that to many people, he defined the sound of Gran Turismo, and that's a lot more important than people think. We can always talk about the technical elements of a game and where it fails and succeeds, but things like the original music and also visual design really give it that heart and soul. When I think of Gran Turismo 3, my first image isn't of the racing.
I mean, this video is just the classic modern video essay, right? Everything has gone to shit and everything was better 20 years ago. You know, I could put it like that, but you know, I agree though. At least in this case, yeah, like, the music seems so much better 20 years ago.
Or even the cars, it's the menus. Things like the GT mode, arcade mode, and dealership, and the music associated with each. That's what gives the game so much of its identity. There are many series where the music has a similar role. Think Persona or the Yakuza games, and the numerous people who are familiar with these titles purely from the music. So to go back to my original question, I think it's more the case that Gran Turismo is so iconic.
Thankfully, you know, as kind of dysfunctional and mixed as I felt some of the modern Yakuza games have been, music is still pretty damn good. I mean, there's been some mixed remix in the remakes, but beyond that, yeah, for now we're still good with Yakuza as far as music goes. Safe.
In part due to these soundtracks, rather than the music being considered great simply by association with the games. But to be honest, my main motive for making this video was that a few months ago, on a whim, I decided to do some research on Ohira to find out more about him, and to my shock, there is hardly any information about him anywhere on the internet. Beyond his website, which is in Japanese but can be auto-translated, and a couple of pieces of social media, there is nothing to see. This is the guy who is the main composer for some of the best-selling video games of all time. His work is almost universally loved, and there is barely any trace that he even exists. That completely blew my mind. On his Last FM page, there are comments from people who don't even know if he's a man or a woman. Her music is great. If anyone's looking for her work, is Isamu Ohira a female? Thankfully, there are a handful of pictures of him on the internet, so we know for certain he is a man, but that's just how little information there was and still is about him. Sure, video game composers are never really going to be in the limelight, but even still, the way he's just disappeared into the shadows with only his name and these songs left for people to remember him by is incredible. If we compare...
That is pretty rare. I mean, composers, you know, they speak with their music, but they might still do interviews and stuff like that, right? So maybe he had a policy of like, you know, I'm just doing music, I don't want any interviews.
Compare him with another similar video game composer, say Hidenori Shoji from the Yakuza games, who's been scoring those since the original Yakuza back in 2005, and still works on the games to this day, not only as a composer, but as the music director as well. He has a Wikipedia page, for one. You can find various interviews with him and articles written about him, but there is nothing like that for Ohira. Of course, a key difference is that Ohira hasn't worked on the games since 2005, and his work hasn't been in the public eye much since then. All I could really find were a couple of tracks he made for animes about a decade ago, and some demo songs he made for...
Brother conflict.
He made for animes about a decade ago, and some demo songs he made for a drum kit. In terms of personal work, he's got a SoundCloud, which I'll link in the description, with songs of varying genres, again showing his range. Check out his song titled Menu 02 for a GT2 style funk track but with a rock flavour. It really captures that excitement to race I mentioned earlier. It's awesome. Now, a part of this I'm sure will be his choice. He could have made himself a more public figure if he wanted to, and I'm not trying to disrespect his privacy, because what he wants to share with the world is entirely up to him. Call it selfishness maybe, but in my view, he's just too talented for me to let him be forgotten. Another influence I had for making this video was a series by Snowiest Angerman.
I mean, you don't really need... Oh, I followed this channel. You don't really need anything more. Like, making this video showcasing his music is all you need. Like, you know, interviews and all that is extra material, but all you need is like a cool YouTube video like this, you know. Like now, I feel like checking out this soundtrack.
Where he covers the work of various composers for the Yakuza series.
Yeah, it's a great series of video.
I've always thought that it's important to credit people correctly for their work. If I find a song I like from a video game and want to use it in my own video, I always go out of my way to find out who actually made it. It annoys me to no end when I see people uploading the music for these games and they just put song name Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo didn't make...
Me when we do reaction on Sunday and, you know, there's no credit to the original song if it's a cover, or like, you know, it doesn't list the singer or something.
the music. Sometimes they don't even bother finding out the name of the song, although this isn't always possible. For example, the songs used as after race music in GT6 have no name and it's unknown who actually composed them. The situation with who composed Blue Line is another case. Maybe this speaks to a wider issue within the industry as a whole. Either way, at least we can still listen back to Ohira's songs knowing that it's his work and his legacy that helped make Gran Turismo so great. To end this video, I'd just like to mention that on IMDb, Ohira is actually credited as a writer on Emplemon's YouTube Geographic series because of his music from GT4, so at least outside the realm of just Gran Turismo, he's got that as well.
Nice, I guess. That's kind of random. Okay. I mean, I really had no idea that Gran Turismo had music of this level, at least back then, right? So it's absolutely stuff that I'd like to listen to the full thing, so yeah, I'll keep it in the back of my head, and if I ever feel like it, I can listen to some Gran Turismo 1, 2, 3 music and get some great stuff. Good video. Again, I really enjoy stuff like this. Here's the link. Okay. I mean, video game music is really something. And not to be a weeboo as always, but yeah, Japanese music, especially, is on a whole different level for video games. I mean, it's really something because, again, for like a racing game, some of the songs that they showcased, I just didn't expect one bit, and yet, man, they're crazy. Okay, very nice video, but yeah, I think we'll leave it at this one for today. That was fun. Enjoyed the video we watched, as always. I'll do more random stream, you know. Tomorrow I'm doing some Conan. I hope you enjoyed the stream as always. If I didn't get to your video next time, share it again. And yeah, have a good day, good night, good morning, and I'll see you guys next time. With Bankai. See you.